Good. Good morning, my friends out there in the universe here on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome. I'm Marshall Berkshire. Today we have another Happiness After Codependency episode. It's episode number 6 of How to Know Yourself, what it really means to know yourself. So if you're new to me, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I help codependents, survivors of narcissistic abuse, rediscover their well-being, their happiness by coming to know, love, and live who they are. And have to move on to create happy relationships and a life that they love to live. So happiness and joy are the objectives. So I'm excited to have you here. Before we get started with today's episode, I'm going to jump out here to the community. I need to share this out to the community, rather. And the community is your safe haven here on the internet where you can find guidance, support, and tools in your journey beyond codependency and back into your well-being, into your happiness. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. And I'm going to click a button and get it out there right now. So where's the buttons? There it is. And voila. Oh, there we go. So again, good morning. It's nice to see you guys out there. Let me know how you're doing in the comments below and your thoughts and feelings on what I share today. So today we're talking about what it really means to know yourself, because we really don't get this. I don't know that this necessarily applies specifically to codependency. I think this applies to most of us out here in the world because of the way we frame knowing ourselves and identity and self-concept. So back in the day, I was raised in a way that I was told who I am. I was told what to be, what to do, and how to do it. Essentially, my persona was defined for me, and then I was expected to conform with this external definition in order to receive love and praise and attention and safety and resource in my world. This is a very common way in which society and culture tends to shape people. It tells them who to be, who you are, what to do, and what it takes to be lovable, to be included, to be valued in that construct. This is an act of violence against the individual and against humanity, in my point of view. Because what it does is it robs us of actually coming to understand ourselves. So instead of actually knowing ourselves, being in contact with who we are running around in the world trying to conform to external expectations defined by other people who don't actually know themselves either, and are likely just trying to get their own needs met through coercive or unhealthy means. That seems to be the trend in our society. So when we're exiting codependency, we're moving into a healthy state of what I call sovereignty. This requires us to move through a deprogramming of ourselves and into a contact of organic experience with who we are currently. And what this really looks like is coming to know and understand your own ideas, your own sensations, your own perspectives and intuitions about things. It also involves coming to acknowledge what you think and what you feel about a particular thing in your world. Now, sovereignty is the idea that you are the supreme authority over your life. You govern your choices, your actions. You choose your needs, your wants. You follow them. You do your best to fulfill them. And you build what I call consent-based or consensual relationships with other people. And you guys build connection by which you exchange and fulfill each other's needs, wants, and desires, because it brings you joy to do that. But in order to do this, in order to be in our sovereignty, to be in a consensual relationship with self and other, we really have to get cognizant about what it means to know who we are. So firstly, knowing ourselves is not a static event. Like, I didn't wake up one day and this is who I am and that's the way I'll always be. We're dynamic, fluid beings. We change, we grow, we evolve based on our experience, our understandings, what we encounter, what happens to us, how we interpret those events that happen to us. These all shape us. These all change us. They help us to evolve and adapt and grow. So firstly, knowing ourselves is about being in contact with our dynamic nature in the present moment. Who am I now? What am I aware of in this moment? What am I sensing emotionally, physically, mentally, psychically or intuitionally, that kind of thing? Or what is alive within me today? If I'm going to really know myself, I got to slow this train down and learn to be in my body, learn to be present with what's arising within me, and meet that, receive it, connect with it, acknowledge and legitimize it, so that it can become heard, seen, and real to us. It's only from here we start to hear ourselves. We get in contact again with our true voice because we're attuning to what's alive within us. So that first step of really knowing ourselves is to come into the presence of ourselves. And that involves connecting ourselves to the body, to being really cognizant and connected to where am I at right now? What am I aware of in this moment? The second component of really knowing ourselves is understanding our past, our biography, where we come from, what influences have shaped us, what are our challenges, what are our strengths in these things, what have we learned, what are we wrestling with, what do we want and need in these areas. Very, very important, because our past is influencing how we interpret our value, what voice we listen to, what vision we follow when we're really attuned, when we're following it, when we're attuned to it or coming from it. It also shapes how we're going to see and understand our future, how we're going to handle the things that we encounter. And they're also going to govern the limits we place on ourselves, what we think is possible for ourselves. So this means we got to get sober. We got to get sober with what we're choosing, what we've chosen, what we need, how that need works. We got to get sober about who others choose to be and how they show up in our world. We have to be cognizant of our own limitations, our own capacities. It's like, can I do this? Can I not do this? Is this aligned with me right now? We have to become loyal to who we are and to what we've gone through so we can understand why we're having the experiences we are now. Because our choices and our actions, our power, our sovereignty have put us where we are in a lot of ways. Now, there are obviously external forces we have natural powerlessness over that move us in directions as well. This helps us get attuned to our pitfalls, to the things that will sabotage us, but also the attributes about ourselves that propel us forward. I'll give you an example of this in regards to the past. So I mentioned this in a few episodes ago, but earlier, a couple days ago, I was working on a trauma in my world where I had been humiliated publicly by confessing my love for someone through a love note, and that individual humiliated me in front of friends in the middle of third grade. I used to interpret that event as I'm stupid, I'm wrong, I'm worthless, because I was internalizing her reaction to me, rather than acknowledging what I'd actually done, which was something other people were not doing. And that is taking the risk to confess something I felt, following my own nature, being me, doing the thing that stands out. This helped me when I looked at this experience and saw this attribute in myself. One, it restructured the way I viewed the event, alleviating a lot of pain and trauma. But two, it helped me know myself more. I was able to come into contact, into awareness that I am a courageous person. I'm a person that takes risks. I'm a person that steps out and does these things. I always have. This is a consistent pattern throughout my world. So now I have an attribute about myself that's reliable, that's just part of my nature, and that I know I'm going to do. So when I encounter difficult things, I know I can resource this courage and put it to use in my world. Deborah says, the idea of having fluid identity scares me. Yeah. If you're externally oriented and trying to please others, naturally. If we're internally oriented, then it's just a constant. It's like, who am I right now? What am I aware of right now? So it's a really alive thing within us that actually protects and promotes our well-being and our safety. So in reference to the past, we can understand and shape ourselves by being connected to it, by respecting it, and by viewing it through the lens of innate value. And that allows us to see these strong positive attributes, as well as be honest with ourselves about what we tend to do that hurts us, sabotages us, or puts us in situations we don't ultimately want to be in. Now, if you're a codependent, you've dealt with some aspect of trauma bonding, some aspect of love addiction where you chase euphoria, you chase fantasy. These are attributes we need to respect about ourselves because they're going to be influencing us. I've not found that these things just completely vanish. These are things we need to be cognizant of. And this moves us into the present plus future view, which means we need to be making choices and actions that add to our well-being and our happiness in the future, not just in a moment today. That's also about knowing ourselves. Knowing ourselves is knowing where we want to be and who we want to be and what we want to experience in our future. Then it's taking actions and making choices that align with those outcomes. That means we're saying no to ourselves in certain things, saying yes to ourselves in others, often in taking big leaps of courage and doing some very difficult and painful work to be free of ourselves, to be free of our trauma, to be free to bring closure to that trauma, to understand ourselves in that space so that we can unify and integrate our experience and find peace with those things. Also means that we're being a little bit disciplined and sober with how we approach ourselves so that we can connect to our future through our power, which is our choices and our actions. This is what it means to know ourselves. We understand our past. We understand where we are presently and what's going on for us now, what our needs are, what our wants are, what's alive within us. And then it's also understanding where we want to be and then making choices and actions that align with those outcomes. This is why it's fluid. This is why it's anchored in the present. This is why it's difficult to know ourselves when we've come from a codependent past, because we're highly habituated to being externally oriented, to being defined by the expectations of other people, of culture, people we care about, of systems of religion, of systems of the society you live in. We need to become more cognizant about how we're defining ourselves and where that definition is coming from. If we're really to anchor and live from our internal sovereignty, our personal power, we have to take ownership of these influences and choose who we want to be. Choose what we value in our world and govern ourselves according to those values, rather than governing ourselves towards what gets love or approval from others. And this doesn't mean we won't be loved. It doesn't mean we won't be included. It means we will be. It means we're going to meet people that are authentic, that are doing the same work, that are knowing themselves in an active state. It means that we're going to connect at a real visceral, alive level where we see each other, where we know and value and love each other for who we are. It means we're going to be free of being controlled by the whims of society and culture around us, and instead anchored more in what matters to us, what brings us clarity, what brings us joy, what helps us thrive and heal and grow in our world. And I think that's most essential in this time of chaos and shift and calamity and challenge that we are experiencing. Because a lot of us really don't know who we are. We don't know how to attune to ourselves. So we make choices based on reactions that are governed from our past experiences, but not necessarily governed from a place of presence with who we are and who we want to be and what we really value. A lot of it's reactionary. So it's a big curve for us to do, but it's a lifelong thing we do. This is not something that happens in a day. It's not something that'll happen in just a course or throughout just basic therapy. This is something we cultivate as a practice. This is why it's a presence thing. It's, where am I at today? What matters to me today? Who do I want to be in this situation? Who do I want to be in that? This is where we come to really know ourselves. To understand what activates us, to understand what cares for us, what nurtures us. To understand what brings us joy. To understand what purpose we want to bring into the world. That's knowing ourselves. And that's the whole point of the Know Yourself strategy. That's why it's called the Know Yourself strategy. As I train you, I teach you the fundamental necessities that get you connected to this process so that you don't have to be codependent anymore. Instead, you get to be confident. You get to have a sense of peace and safety in being who you are. You get to go out and create things in your world that you really want. You get to finally get to be who you are with joy. That's one of the big things I get asked a lot from students, from clients, from members of my community is, how do I know myself? How do I want to be who I am. I want to live my purpose. How do I do that? The Know Yourself strategy teaches you how to do that by connecting you to your value, voice, and vision, which assists you in knowing who you are so that you can put that into action in your world. So we've got enrollment is open for that. We start in just about a week and a half. The link for enrollment is above on Facebook, below on YouTube. There's a variety of pricing options. So if the full price of $12.50 does not land or it's not in your reach, there's other options available for you. Please take advantage of them. Because my first and biggest priority, my vision, my value in this is to connect people back to themselves. So you don't have to be suffering anymore in emptiness, loneliness, and confusion. You can have confidence in yourself. You can have that innate value. You can know what you want and what you need. You can go out and create a life that you enjoy. That's my purpose. That's my joy. So let me know what works for you. We'll get you in it. The course is 16 weeks long. I teach you how to know your value, your voice, and your vision, and then how to apply it through these 16 weeks, along with some additional advanced trainings that'll come out in 2022 called applications, where we actually put this to work in very specific areas that bring alive your world. So there was another aspect here. This also comes with the Know Yourself strategy, also comes with access to the Heal Yourself strategy, which is my fundamental codependency healing system, where I teach you how to restore your safety, sanity, and self. Comes access with twice a week live mentoring for forever. That doesn't expire at the end of the course. You have lifetime access to that, where you can get guidance and support from me in a live, secure Zoom room, as well as ongoing updates to the course, so you can always attend future live trainings and the additional things that I add to it throughout the years. So, because I'm a big fan of updating courses and making them strong. So that's where you can start your journey back to you and build into this sovereignty, into this power that brings you that happiness, that joy, that relief in your world, that you can finally know yourself and live who you are without the shame, without the guilt, without the fear. Because that's what we do. That's what I have helped thousands of people accomplish with what I teach in the Know Yourself strategy. So there you go, my friends. Go gently with yourself. Explore your world today as to who are you today? Who do you want to be tomorrow? And then tune into your own guidance as to what that requires. Lean into trusting yourself a bit and see what you discover there. Thank you again for being here. Remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. And I will see you guys in our next training video. Bye-bye.